Saturday, October 14th, 1939. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. In the east, the movements towards the German-Russian border of interests were completed with the occupation of the last sections of the Bug. Weak artillery activity in the west. During air combat, 3 enemy aircraft near Schleiden, Idar Oberstein, and Mayen were shot down by fighter and anti-aircraft defenses without any losses of our own. Sunday, October 15th, 1939. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. No special events in the east. In the west, weak enemy artillery fire was returned. On October 13th, another enemy aircraft was shot down in the Birkenfeld area. On October 14th, there was no enemy or friendly flight activity of any significance. As the British Admiralty announced on the radio, the battleship Royal Oak was sunk by a German submarine. So far, the British Admiralty has only been able to reveal the number of around 370 survivors. The noise of engines heard over northern German territory on the night of October 14th to 15th triggered anti-aircraft fire in some places. Monday, October 16th, 1939. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. After the troop movements to occupy the German area of interest in Poland have ended, the Wehrmacht High Command will no longer report on the east. In the west, there was little combat activity and weak artillery fire. On the Rhine southwest of Rastatt, the French were forced to evacuate a fort by flooding. In the air, only a small amount of enemy and own flight activity near the border. Special report. The submarine that sank the British battleship Royal Oak attacked and torpedoed the British battlecruiser Repulse. Tuesday, October 17, 1939, the Wehrmacht High Command reports. During the course of October 16th, the French troops cleared most of the German territory they had previously occupied in front of our fortifications and returned to and across the border. The English naval forces were attacked again yesterday, and successfully. 2 of the English warships lying in the Firth of Forth were hit by bombs of the heaviest caliber. This success was achieved despite fierce enemy resistance from anti-aircraft fire and fighter pilots. Yesterday, 5 enemy aircraft, including 2 English ones, were shot down while monitoring German airspace. According to the German submarine commander's report, the torpedoing of the battleship Royal Oak and the battlecruiser Repulse took place in the Bay of Scapa Flow. The trade war in the North and Baltic Sea showed effective results last week. According to English sources, 7 steamers with a weight of 54,396 gross registered tons were sunk in the Atlantic between October 13th and 15th alone, including the largest French tanker, Émile Miguet. Wednesday, October 18th, 1939. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. During the course of October 17th, the French troops gave up further points of terrain on German soil along the border between the Mosel and Palatinate Forest, which were occupied by our advancing troops. Numerous prisoners have been brought in. The German Air Force yesterday continued its operations against the war ports on the English East Coast. According to reports available so far, in addition to other warships, an older English battleship was hit by heavy and medium caliber bombs in the Bay of Scapa Flow. During a dogfight, an English fighter plane was shot down by German planes. A German fighter plane was brought down by English anti-aircraft artillery. On October 16th and 17th, the enemy lost 10 aircraft, namely 5 aircraft, 1 English, to anti-aircraft artillery over German territory, 1 French and 1 English aircraft to fighter pilots, and 3 English aircraft in the air battle over English territory. Thursday, October 19th, 1939. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. Between the Saar and the Hornbach-Bitch Road, our troops threw the enemy rear guards that were still on German soil back and across the border after a short, stubborn fight. On the remaining sections of the Western Front, only local artillery and scout troop activity. In some places, contact with the enemy was temporarily lost because our combat outposts did not cross the French border. This means that the first phase of the fighting in the West, which resulted from the French initiative, can be considered complete, and the following overview of the events on the Western Front since the beginning of the war can be given. With the start of operations in Poland, our border fortifications in the West were also occupied by strong forces. On September 9th, the French opened hostilities and crossed the German border with scouting parties at various points between Luxembourg and the Rhine west of Karlsruhe. Since that time, no serious fighting has taken place anywhere on the Western Front. The purely local fighting took place in a flat strip close to the French border in front of our west wall. With a single exception, these battles involved only small units on both sides, mostly below company strength. During the month of September, the French only occupied 1. Some German towns near the French border between the Luxembourg border and Saarlautern, 2. The forest area Der Warnt, located southwest of Saarbrücken and jutting out into France, and 3. The also jutting part of the area southeast of Saarbrücken between Saar and the Palatinate Forest. Only in the last two parts of the area mentioned, which were cleared by us as planned, did the enemy establish themselves on German soil at a depth of 3 to 5 kilometers with considerable losses. The entire remaining German area in front of the West Wall remained free of the enemy. At no point did French forces even come close to the West Wall, except where the West Wall runs in the immediate vicinity of the French border, as at Saarbrücken. The artillery fire also corresponded to this low level of infantry combat activity. Apart from supporting smaller operations, it was limited to disruptive fire against points in the area in front of our fortifications. In a single case, a bunker near Saarbrücken was shelled with 80 medium-caliber rounds without any success. Since the beginning of the war, there has been complete, almost peace-like calm on the Upper Rhine from Karlsruhe to Basel. The enemy voluntarily gave up this small gain in territory, which the French side had presented as a great success and effective support for the Poles between the Luxembourg border and the Warnt, as well as between the Saar and the Palatinate Forest, and pressed by our troops, who then pushed forward energetically, returned close to and across the French border. The air warfare on the Western Front has so far not gone beyond reconnaissance activities, as well as fighter and anti-aircraft defense on both sides. There were no bombings. Since the beginning of the war, 60 enemy aircraft, including 12 British ones, have succumbed to the effective German defense of fighters and anti-aircraft guns on the Western Front. The enemy aircraft losses in the interior of Germany and in the coastal areas are not included in these figures. The total German losses due to enemy action on the Western Front from the beginning of the war to October 17th amounted to 196 dead, 356 wounded, 114 missing, and a total of 11 aircraft. In contrast, by October 18th alone, 25 French officers and 664 non-commissioned officers and men had been brought in as prisoners. On the 170-kilometer-long Upper Rhine front, only one man was wounded by shrapnel from an occasional anti-aircraft fire. British troops have so far been nowhere to be found in the front line of the Western Front. Friday, October 20th, 1939, the Wehrmacht High Command reports. In the west, calm returned after the end of the fighting in the border area southeast of Saarbrücken. Apart from local artillery and scout activity across the front, no special events.
Join us also next Sunday for the subsequent Wehrmacht reports. In the meantime, you can discover many more military history audiobooks on Major Antonio's YouTube channel. Thank you for listening, and so long.